Hey everybody, today we are going to learn how to combine some of the Adobe programs together. So today specifically we're going to learn how to take our animation from Animate and transfer that animation over to Adobe After Effects. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I have my walk cycle here. We're going to transfer about 1 second of footage over to Adobe After Effects. So we can do this multiple ways. I have Adobe Animate open. And then as well, I have Adobe After Effects open. My Animate project is 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames per second. That's important to kind of keep in mind as we go forward. And let's go ahead and export this and see what some of our options are. Now, we can do this a few different ways to export this sequence of animation over. One way is to simply export the images themselves. So we could create an animated GIF. We could do video or media, and as well we could do a movie. So let's go ahead and start with, if you click on export image, it's going to take a second, and what that's going to do is just export the one image. And we don't want that. We actually want to export more than just the one image. So what we're going to do is go back to export, and we're going to click on export, and we're going to go to export movie. Now export movie will actually pull up an image sequence, and we have a couple different options here. So let's go ahead and hit cancel there, and I'm going to go on my main folder here on my desktop. Let me minimize these programs, shut that one down, and we're going to go ahead and create a new folder, call it Images for After Effects. So we don't want those just to be all willy-nilly on our desktop. All right, so File, now we're going to do our Export Movie. So we're going to export that walk cycle, and let's go ahead and use a PNG sequence. We all know that PNGs typically don't have any backgrounds, which is a good thing, especially when we're trying to composite. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. It's asking me, are these dimensions correct? It's asking me if I want to use a minimum size of my composition, if I want to use a full document. I'm happy with how it looks right now, and it's currently exporting those sequences. So now in this folder, double click on it here a second, you'll see we have a slew of walk cycle images. Now to get those into After Effects, and we're going to go through a few different methods here, but we would simply go into After Effects, double click, navigate to our folder of choice, in this case Images for After Effects, and only select the number one image. Make sure now that you have PNG sequence selected. And I'm going to go ahead and create a composition for this as well. So we have PNG sequence, create composition. We're going to go ahead and hit import. Now, a couple things happen. First, you can see there's no background, right? So we would have to go ahead and put that background in. But secondly, you can see that this composition actually is 30 frames a second. So I'm going to go into my composition settings, and I want to make sure that I set this to 24 frames a second just to make sure everything lines up. Once I do that, I can just hit my spacebar, and there's my walk cycle. So that's one way you can do it. Let's try another way. Go back to Animate. Let's go back to Export. Let's do Export Movie again. And this time, let's choose SWF Movie. And we're going to call this, we'll just call it Walk Cycle for lack of a creative name. And actually, let's call this New Walk, just so we can find it easier. We're going to export that. And if I double click and I see new walk here, it's asking me, do I want to import this? Create a composition. I'm going to hit import. Now that I have my new walk, you can see that it does the same exact thing. Now in this case, it is basically exporting kind of a Flash-esque file here. SWFs aren't that widely used anymore, but you can see that it does import rather smoothly. That's really cool. All right, what else can we do? Well, we can go to File, Export again, and let's go back to Export Movie just to see the other options. We have SVG sequence, which will be all vector. We have GIF sequences, JPEG sequences. I'm not sure if, let's see if they'll take an SVG in After Effects. I'm not sure if it actually will. It's asking me to embed the image location or link it to a folder of images. It's completely fine either way. Exporting those frames. And as you're noticing, this is pretty easy to do. So at this point, you can see those SVGs do not show up as acceptable files for After Effects. So To find out what is acceptable, I go down here to the File drop-down, and it will show me all different types of things. So you can see here are the SVGs, they're just not taking it. So that's good to know as we move forward. Another way you can do this is you can export, and you can export your video and media. So at this point, I can either generate a color background, do the entire movie, or just maybe render a specific scene within my scene. So I want to ignore the stage color and generate an alpha channel, make it see-through. I want to go ahead and put this movie, let's put it in our good old folder and call this movie walk. H.264 is a great format that works with most computers. Double click, give it a second here. So what's happening right now, just like most exports, is it's going to open up our media encoder. So, as you can see, it didn't just open it right away. So as this is working right now, it's bringing in my H.264 here. So it's going to take a few seconds to kind of calculate that. And then when it's good to go, it should render. It's saying, hey, we created it. We put it in your folder. There it is. After Effects, drag and drop. The movie comes in. This time I can drag it to my composition window to keep that 24 frames a second. Turn off that background. And actually, this is kind of a unique situation. Even though we checked that alpha channel, you'll notice that it did bring it in as a black box. So this is a situation in which we would have to, maybe go back to the drawing board and look at why it did that. So let's go back to Animate and do File, Export, Video and Media. And let's go ahead and uncheck that Ignore Stage Color. Now, it could be that H.264 simply do not have alpha channel options. And that's a pretty valid point. So it may just be the file type that we have does not include an alpha channel. So I know MOVs do, but I'm not seeing, maybe because I'm on a PC, an MOV option. So that could be what happened there. We'll go ahead and export just one more time just to see if that unchecking the box does it. If you are working on a Mac, that may not be an issue for you because we know that Mac is the MOV is a native movie file for Mac. All right, where am I? Hey, there you go. They made the colors of the icons all the same. So if I open up the walk cycle now, let's see if this one has it. So this one actually kept the background, so at least it gives us, it's not see-through, but at least it gives us that look. And then at this point, especially having that dark stroke, I can add something like a new solid. Maybe we can like make it, I'll make it funky purple or something like that. And then we can set the blending mode for this, maybe to like an overlay to get purple lines, or a multiply to actually get the purple background. So that's another way we can export. So the final option is export an animated GIF. What this will do is open up your animated GIF kind of cycler, which mine is not opening. I don't know if it's just because my screen is too large. So that could be, I am using a Surface Studio and it has a ridiculously large screen. So there's a strong possibility that it just simply can't read the pixels here. So go through these, and if I hit save, we're going to call this walk cycle GIF. We'll just put this outside because it will be a single image. And let's see if that exported. Close it up. Here's our walk cycle. There's our GIF. You can post that online. You can do a lot of fun stuff. Let's pull that into After Effects, see if it brings it over. So if we pull a GIF into After Effects, you'll notice it indeed plays it. How about that? Pretty neat, right? So it is reading those different layers. You can see it's not the cleanest because a GIF isn't a very high-res format. But those are all the different ways you can export files from Animate to After Effects. I know a lot of people get worried because they think Animate and they worry about the flashes dying and going away. Well, this has really nothing to do with Flash. It's just about getting your drawings from one program to the next. Here in After Effects, you can make a really cool dynamic background and go on from there. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and now's really the time to start combining the different elements of your different programs and really kind of make some really cool narratives in your animation. All right, guys, I'll catch you next time.